is to continue the fight while the leader and the members of parliament, the senators, continue the fight inside the parliament. It is our job to continue the fight outside of the parliament. And therefore, on the 10th of December, we are going to mobilize over 30,000 individuals in this country to let Keith Rowley and the PNM know that we have had enough of their misbehavior in public office, their misrepresentation of the truth, their interference in relation to our democracy, and therefore we are going to stand to fight the battle together. We are going to fight against the murder rate. We are going to fight against food prices. We are going to fight against the fuel increase. We are going to fight against the unemployment. We are going to fight against the worst government ever. We are going to fight about the worst infrastructure. We are going to fight, ladies and gentlemen, for the interference of our democracy by this dictatorial government under the leadership of Christopher Rowley.
Who is also the Vice Chairman of the Superior Regional Corporation.
Let us get our hearts and our minds in a prayerful. Let us pray. Dear God, our Heavenly Father, we invite your presence in this room, O Lord. Lord, you know why we are all gathered here. Lord, give our speakers the clarity of their minds, Lord, to lead us, to educate us, to teach us what is going on into this country, oh Lord. Lord, we know the ill givings of all that is happening. Today, Lord, we are gathered here and we ask for your presence to guide us, to lead us, to educate us, and to give us the wisdom and the understanding to know what is right from what is wrong. I thank you for all these mercies tonight, Lord, and I ask your blessings for this meeting to be a successful one. Amen.
Please have your seats. Members of the viewing audience on television, on YouTube, persons who will be looking at this later on as well, members of the audience present here tonight, councillors, aldermen, members of parliament, I wish you a pleasant good night from OROPOUCHE West. Tonight, you are going to be hearing some more facts, not fiction. Facts about the state of Trinidad and Tobago. And at the end of this event, at the end of tonight's discourse between ourselves and yourself, you will be convinced beyond the shadow of a doubt that it is time that you stand up and speak out against this corrupt, incompetent, malicious, evil government led by Keith Christopher Rowley, Colm Imbert, Faris Alrawi, and the whole gang. To start us off today, ladies and gentlemen, to start us off tonight, we have a young man. He is the public relations officer of the OROPOUCHE West constituency. So tonight I want you to listen to hear for yourselves what the voice of the youth are telling you. He will speak tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and educate you from a young person's perspective of how they see Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, the Public Relations Officer of the United National Congress's OROPOUCHE West Constituency Executive, I introduce now Mr. Raven Ramsewak.
Thank you, MP. It's always an honor to be introduced by your Member of Parliament, my Member of Parliament for OROPOUCHE West, MP Divinjana Tanku. I would like to begin by acknowledging all the members of Parliament present here this evening. Chairman of the Penal Debe Regional Corporation, Dr. Alan Sami, councillors, members of council, activists, members of the OROPOUCHE West constituency executives, our audience here live and viewing live, a pleasant good evening. This evening I would be speaking on the lack of employment opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago, we are starved for opportunity, starved for growth. Trinidad and Tobago has experienced zero growth or development. There is a continuous lack of opportunities for job and employment, whilst the current government continues to do what they do, distract the public, because West Indies cricket is more important. I would like to touch base on a program called On-the-Job Training Program, also known as OJT Training Program, which falls under the Ministry of Labor. Now, this is a pre-employment program targeted for persons aged 16 to 35, which introduces them to the world of works and gives them basic skills and experience to enter the workforce. Persons employed through this program receive what is called a stipend. Note this term is stipend, not a salary, with a base of $3,035, which is just above the minimum wage. Now, $3,035 isn't much because it's a stipend after all, but they continuously pay persons employed in this program late. And when I mean late, I mean you work for the month of October, we are in November, you either receive your payment on the 15th of November if you are lucky, or sometimes almost to the end of November when they are supposed to be processing salary for that month. That is completely unacceptable. Why? How can someone travel or commute to work, ensure that they have breakfast, lunch, try to cover other basic expenses while being paid late continuously every month? Shame. That is complete shame on the OJT training program and the ministry. You know, we trainees have a saying, you know, we always have an issue with time, we're always late. But clearly the ministry decided to adapt this issue because they want to be late with payments, but that is unacceptable. That's a disservice to our youths and the persons employed in the workforce for OJT program. You are disenchanting the youths and the upcoming persons in the workforce for our country. How can we expect growth and development when basic issues like these continue to plague us? They are not the only ministry that has this issue because, from what I've been told, council secretaries or office clerks are paid their stipends as well, note the term stipends, late. But that's not the only issue. The cherry on top, these people are underpaid. Yes, Trinidad, underpaid. You heard me correctly. Councillors, secretaries, and office clerks are paid below minimum wage. This is a breach of the Minimum Wage Act. It is against the law. No worker, including migrant workers, should be paid less than $17.50 per hour, or which is equivalent to a monthly salary of $3,033.33. The councillors, secretaries receive $3,000. And yes, I know what most of you may be thinking. $33.33 may not seem like a lot, but it is something. It is a lot. Because the minimum wage adjustment was brought into effect in December of 2019. December of 2019 TNT. 3 years ago, 3 years later, the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government continues to break the law. And yes, consultation was done with the Ministry of Labor. So I'm not here producing propaganda for you. These are facts.
Facts, not fiction.
Exactly, facts, not fiction. This is the level of competency and oversight that this government has. I'm not sure how I feel about my other statement, but I probably agree with that is the right decision to move Minister Al-Rawi from the ministry and the Attorney General's office to the MRDLG, because clearly he isn't aware of the basic law and rights of the people of this country. How can you run the country? How can you create employment opportunities, produce growth in our country and implement new laws when you cannot understand the basic workers' rights? Instead of focusing on working out in the gym so much, Minister, you should focus on working for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because unfortunately, that is your job. That is the job you have. And if you cannot do it, I kindly invite you to step down. There is no shame in failing, Minister, because your government has shown us and the people of Trinidad and Tobago that you are scholars at failing to run this country. Because we the people of Trinidad and Tobago are afraid to hold you accountable. But I will say this to the people of Trinidad and Tobago: nothing will change until the government changes. Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very much, Rivan. Thank you very, very much. What you heard there is a young person telling this government that what they are doing with OJTs in particular is against the law. You really think we are to tell them that they're breaking the law? You think these people don't know? Or is it that they don't care? PNM. PNM for people never matter for the PNM. And yet, we know, the young man said it, Rivan said it just now, nothing will change until this government changes. And for that to happen, ladies and gentlemen, for that to happen, you must stand up and make it so. Yes. When you have the opportunity, you must tell them so. Because the longer we wait, the worse it's going to get, you know. The longer we wait, the worse it's going to get. From one day to the next day to the next day, every chance they get, they are stifling the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Their knees are on our necks. And until we act, until we stand up and let them know that enough is enough, we will continue to suffer. Do you want to continue to suffer, ladies and gentlemen? Do you want this thing to get better? Yes. The only way to do that is to remove them. Not one, not two, but every single last one of this nasty, incompetent, hateful, spiteful, vindictive government. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce another young person, another young man from the constituency of OROPOUCHE West. Tonight I want to introduce you to the chairman designate of OROPOUCHE West, and he will speak to you, ladies and gentlemen. Another young man who will tell you once more the kind of suffering that young people are being forced to experience because of this hardcore, vicious PNM government. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to a brilliant young man. He's a businessman. He's an articulate, I don't know how else to describe this gentleman. He's a phenomenon by himself, a true representative of the young people of OROPOUCHE West and the young people of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nicholas Rampasad.
Pleasant good night to each and everyone. Thank you, MP, my fellow UNC colleagues, and most importantly, the foot soldiers of our great party. A pleasant good night. So my brothers and sisters, today I'm here to speak to you specifically on education. You know, the saying go, education is a key to success. And that is a key that is being taken away from us, the young people of Trinidad and Tobago, by this incompetent, wicked PNM government. Education in Trinidad and Tobago has always been at a high cost, even though there is a universal free education in primary and secondary schools. Schools like what we sit in today are now forced to do their own funding as government subventions are inadequate to meet their needs. Tertiary education. Tertiary level education is now out of reach of the average student as gate funded has now been reduced. And I want to repeat this. Gate funded has been reduced by this government, and the cost of living has increased exponentially over the last 7 years. And you see, we on the UNC side, we don't just come here and state things. I came with the facts tonight. According to an article in the Newsday of February 2021, and it states, changes to the GATE program, there was a 75% slash in government scholarship. Trinidad and Tobago education institution and students are now feeling the strain. In UE, and we know so many persons that would have attended UE like myself, the facts show that in 2020 to 2021 academic year, UE saw a drop in the admissions under 5,000 students. That is 5,000 students who cannot access tertiary education in Trinidad and Tobago for the first time in 12 years, and that has happened under this government. That is not acceptable. And coming out of UE itself, data from the UE Campus Office of Planning and Institution Research for the 2020 to 2021 academic year showed that 4,566 new students enrolled, of more than 1,000 from the previous year, when 5,766 new students were enrolled. Just a few days ago, the Guardian newspaper reported that all other tertiary institutions, private and public, experienced a similar phenomenon, which was compounded by the very tardy payments for GATE funding that put institutions under severe financial cash flow pressures. And today, we have parents here, you have kids that are going to primary school. And just to get an idea, tuition costs are also very high at UE. It ranges from $18,000 to $71,000 per year for an undergraduate degree. In these hard times, where are we going to find that type of money? But yet this government chooses to slash GATE by not 10, not 20%, but by 75%. But you see, during the People's Partnership government, during 2010 to the 2015 period, GATE invested $650 million per annum on average, and in 1 year the figure peaked to close $800 million. So that shows that we on the UNC, we care for the future of our nation. And tonight I want to touch a little bit about youth programs. This government boasts about the youth programs they offer, yet they fail to tell you the number of programs and the enrollment of each has dropped. This is deliberate. A stone throw away from here, we have the NESC centers in Pinal. We also have one in Palo Seco. But they were closed so that those students now have to travel to either Labre, Cuva, Point Lisas, Chaguanas, or Mayaro. How do they expect students to arrive on time? Should they do as the PM suggested and just leave earlier? When courses are offered, for example, in agriculture, as was done recently, the course center was to be Chagaramas. Of all places, Chagaramas. How, again, do they expect students from rural areas such as Maruga, Siparia, Pinal, Debe to get there? It's not as if they have a regular and reliable bus service that can be used. It is no wonder that the young people feel hopeless and are looking for ways to escape. And I personally have many friends, I have many families that, you now see it happening more often. They are migrating to other countries or turning, well, not my family, but you find other people may turn to illegal activities to maintain themselves and their families. But that is what happens under a PNM government. This government turns a blind eye. They look the other way. So with the minister in charge of youth development, he more concerned with his own financial status than the status of the young people of this nation. So I say, the youths of OROPOUCHE West say that enough is enough. We deserve to get fair access to all opportunities and not have to suffer from the geographic discrimination that is practiced by this wicked PNM government. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put yourselves in that gentleman's shoes. I want you to put yourselves in young people's shoes. I want you to put yourself, even if you're an adult, in the shoe of a young person or in the shoes of the parents of these young people. Imagine sacrificing. Imagine doing without the basic necessities to ensure that your child or yourself pursue education. And then when you finish, you would have suffered through years of studies. You would have sacrificed your own selves to make sure that your children get your school books, etc., so that you could study, because of the belief that education is the passport from poverty to some kind of development. And after years of studying, you come out with this degree, or you come up with these CXC passes, and you can't get a job. You know why you can't get a job? Because this government has abandoned this country. Our economy has shrunk by 20% in the last 7 years. You know what that means for you? It means that there's less business in this country. It means that there's less job opportunity. And when a young person, having sacrificed to get into the educational sphere that they want to, so that they could contribute to the development of this country, and then they are unable to do so, that is a crime against future generations of this country. And that cannot be accessible. It cannot be acceptable. It is absolutely and totally wrong. Because 20 years from now and 30 years from now, these young persons with this ambition to contribute and to build this country would be the adults that will run this country. Instead, what the Prime Minister and his bunch of crooks are doing, what they are doing is putting these young people into a state of chronic depression. We have enough people right now in this country who are suffering, who are frustrated because of the absence of opportunity to move forward. And instead of creating jobs, ladies and gentlemen, so that these young people who are aspiring to education could educate themselves and then fill those jobs, you know what the government doing? They're cutting down the access. They're cutting down the opportunity for you to educate yourself. So that means that there's going to be less persons educating themselves, less person with the qualifications to build an economy, guess what you're creating? A vicious cycle of poverty, because you have less people able to contribute to an economy. This is the vision and the view of this government. They are creating dependency, ladies and gentlemen, and that cannot be acceptable. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, I remind you that nothing will change. We will continue to spiral into hell. Nothing will change until this government is removed from office. Coming to you now to speak to you, ladies and gentlemen, is again another young professional. He is the counselor for Debe South, ladies and gentlemen. The counselor for Debe South. A young, and perhaps I think he is the last elected local government representative. A young professional by himself, a man of vision, a man who saw a future in the United National Congress and who was willing to stand up and fight to ensure that voice of young people and the voices of the citizens of Debe South was reflected in the corridors of power. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, put your hands together for Mr. Kimraj Seecharan.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, my Debe South family. My OROPOUCHE West family. My family from South. My fed up family. Good evening to you too. This evening, of course, I'm thankful for the opportunity to speak because, well, as a lot of you all tell me now, apparently I like the mic and I like to talk. So I'm going to take this opportunity because I have so much to say to this Minister of No Work, Minister of Rohan Sinanan, Minister of No Works. I want to call him a friend, you know, because the thing that I want to tell you, sir, with utmost respect, I understand, you know, so they tell me to talk today, and I went on the ministry website and I saw Ministry of Works. They have a nice thing, real nice color, and they said Ministry of Works connecting communities. Well, boy, them have a unique way of disconnecting every single community I see in Trinidad. My area is Debe South, but of course we live in the Penal Debe region, and I want to tell you all what's happening in the Penal Debe right now. As you come down the SS Ring Road, you'll notice the pothole paradise that we live in now, because every turn you make, you have to dodge. But let's give the pothole a rest today, because landslides has taken over Penal Debe. You know there's a landslide in Clark Road. Clark Road is one of the major connecting routes in the Penal Debe region. Clark Road, closed. 4 weeks now, 2 landslips in Clark Road closed. And you know what happened when they closed the road? Nothing. Ministry of No Works, because they're doing nothing. You can't pass Clark Road, so you say, well, let me cut through because I'm trying to get into Rock Road. Let me turn Satnarine Trace, because that's one of the shorter routes that we'll take. Guess we have landslide again. Satnarine Trace, close off. And what happening? Nothing. Because Ministry of No Works doing nothing. We turn around Satnarine Trace and say, well, let's try to pass through by Holy Faith Convent there, and we're going to take through Goodman Road, Goodman Trace. Goodman Trace, landslide. Goodman Trace, close off. Ministry of Works, nothing. How are people from the Penal Debe region expected to go to and from work? How are we expected to continue our livelihoods? How are we expected to do something for ourselves and our families? Christmas is coming up when all the roads are closed. That's not enough, you know. You decide, all right, I take through the Rock Road, and I'm going all the way down, and I want to come through Rochard Road. Landslide in Rochard Road. Road block off. Thank God for the Penal Debe Corporation. We own a small mini excavator. They went in. We did some work. They cleared the road. Might be one lane, but people could pass. New Colonial Road, Bailey Bridge. Ministry of Works again. All right, we'll give you a temporary bridge. We're going to work on putting a new bridge in. Temporary permanent bridge is exactly what it is. Just like Boodoo Trace Branchery, only 21 years now that temporary bridge serving residents. That's our next one. We will deal with them in a second, coming back through because there's another landslip. 20 minutes minimum. 20 minutes to hour and 15 minutes every morning to pass through that new Colonial Bailey Bridge because it's a one-way traffic route. So cars coming through and cars have to go. And of course, when you get your side moving, everybody trying to rush through because you don't know how long it takes for you to get next chance again. So over an hour every morning, you have to suffer on that Rochard Road to get out. People from Clark Road, Rochard Road, all the numbers, number 1, number 2, 3, 4, going straight down Rochard Douglas Road. People from Rock Road, 10 Mile, name it, the entire Southern Peninsula passes through this route. We have to suffer with one single lane Bailey Bridge. And we pass the Bailey Bridge, eventually somebody give you a chance and you pass and you're coming up. You all see that road that they call the Field Road. Barrackport Trace, they call it now. I don't know if there's a road, if that is part of the Pitch Lake, if it's sink. I don't know what's happening with it. The road is so deplorable. And of course, Ministry of Works, nothing. And you know what they said? Corporation, you had to fix it. But guess what? Ministry of Local Government, yeah, give me no money. What are we going to do? Discrimination at its highest. Up till now, budget reads in September. They say they want to read budget early so they can have things started in New Year. October finish. Today is what? The 24th of November. Up till now, we ain't get a release to buy a gravel, 2 Yellowstone bowlers, some oil sand, nothing. But you know what? Let's blame somebody else because jurisdiction is the favorite word. Oh, that's your road. You ought to fix it. That's your bridge. You ought to fix it. But you know what? We don't get any kind of money to fix a bridge. Let me talk a little bit about partner Nicholas Canha and the Sanahi Trace Bridge. Just give me 1 minute on that. The Sanahi Trace Bridge, Ministry of Works said, that road is yours. So the bridge is yours. No problem. That's our road. Ministry of Local Government sent technical department, the whole team. You know what? They choose Diwali, they didn't come. Maybe they thought Councillor Canha would make parcel for them. I understand he did offer them, but of course. Well done. They came Diwali morning to secure this bridge. They say, you know what? The bridge structure fine. So Ministry of PDRC, your resource is the bridge. The bridge is 100% okay. But the river passing, take on one side of the bridge, take away somebody's property, a man fence wall, the next thing to go is his bedroom, and it's coming around where the bridge is standing, the river is coming around. But Ministry of Works said, you know what? The river is we won, but we mash up your bridge and we mash up your road, but you fix it. That is yours, you fix it. So, as Councillor Canha said it, and I will say it back today because I like this forum to reiterate it. If you go in somebody's property, in fact, you don't go nowhere because you're good people. If somebody come in your property and say, you see this house, I'm going to mash up that wall. They mash up your wall. Yeah, mash it up. It's nice. It's damaged good. I'm going home. Well, you go fix it now. Is that right?
No.
But that is what the Ministry of Works is saying. I mash up your bridge and I mash up your road, but you fix it. And Sanahi Bridge is now closed. Sanahi Trace Bridge is one of the last connectors we have for this Davie South area, Boodoo Trace and environs. You know there was a fire in Boodoo Trace Branchery about 2 months ago? The fire service had to take 3 different routes because they came in through Ramai Trace. Of course, we have a Bailey Bridge again, single lane. You know how we do it on this side. They can't pass through. The overhead rail is set 2.8 meters. The fire truck can't go through. They turn around, they come back. They say, okay, we're going through Boodoo Trace. Went in Boodoo Trace. Well, that time the Bailey Bridge was closed. We had to fight tooth and nail. Ministry of Works again, local government, everybody have jurisdiction. We figure it out. They opened the bridge. The fire truck couldn't pass there. The fire truck had to take the Sanahi Trace Bridge to get to the fire. Now Sanahi Trace is closed. So guess what? They had to go down the field road, through this Trinidad road that isn't a road but probably a Bocas, come back around through what we call Diggity Trace, and that bridge now is on the verge of collapse. Anyone living in that area from Boodoo Trace, Braintree, Diggity Trace, Sanahi Trace, all to the volcano and stuff, you know, if you have a fire or you have an emergency, nothing cannot be done for you. This is why we have forums like this, and this is why we have to salute, and I want you to give a round of applause for Victor Roberts for taking a stance and saying, you know what, enough is enough. We are not accepting this, and we are going to march. And I know the naysayers will say, what the march could do. But you know what? Sitting down home and doing nothing ain't going to do nothing either. So it's better I march and I let the government know that I'm fed up, and we're going to make something happen. You know, I point out all of these problems that we have. But you know something? We have solutions, you know. We have solutions. We have solutions sitting down under grass in Suture Trace. Suture Trace, as many of you all will know, the traffic that comes through there on a daily basis. And of course, many of you all will know the flood that happens there because of the river that passes through. Do you know there is a brand new bridge built? Of course, it was built by the last government. You know, the performing government where the Ministry of Works actually used to work. They built a brand new bridge in Debe Trace to cross the big river. And you know what Ministry of Works did? Well, Ministry of No Works now? Nothing. Nothing. So the narrow one-lane course, passageway you have to pass through that Debe Trace, we have to suffer there on a daily basis when you could see the bridge. Just imagine you passing on the bridge and you're suffering because it's narrow so and it have 3 potholes on it, and on the side of your eye you could see the brand new bridge sitting there. Nobody could pass on it. Minister Sinanan, do better now. It's 7 years you're here. Do better now.
You cannot do better. Get out. Get out. One time. Get out.
And that's exactly what I wanted to tell you. We have come to understand you cannot do better. And that's all right, you know. Everybody has shortcomings. However you want to deal with your shortcomings, wherever short, you deal with it. But that is not for we to deal with. You cannot do the work, just step away. Landslides has gripped our nation. Because I heard it yesterday, Councillor Adrian Ali spoke about Skinner Trace, and that part of the SS Erin Road is gone. But SS Erin Road starts from San Fernando, right? It's called the San Fernando Siparia Erin Road. That's what SS means. So the road starts from there to take us all the way to Erin. And parts of that road is going to go away slowly but surely. I'm going to wrap up now because, of course, other speakers have to chat. But I just want to say to Minister Sinanan, Minister Alwari, and to the entire PNM government, landslides has gripped our country. But the biggest landslide to come is going to be the next election, when the landslide is going to get you all out of office.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kim Chan, Kimraz Hicharan. Ladies and gentlemen, are they fed up yet? Would you believe that despite all these landslides in South Trinidad and in East Trinidad and in North Trinidad and in Central Trinidad, would you believe that this government can't fix none of them because they say they don't have no money? That is an absolute lie. This country has a Minister of Finance that told you, he boasted. You remember that? Remember this, sir? He boasted we get $11 billion more than they expected last year. Not this year, you know. Last year. And still we have bridges that have not been repaired. We have landslides that are occurring day by day by day. Why do you think they're not fixing it? Because for the PNM, the people never matter. And until, ladies and gentlemen, we decide that enough is enough and we decide to stand up and speak out and show how angry we are, nothing will change. You will get, ladies and gentlemen, the opportunity. You know, many people have been calling on the radio stations, on the TV stations, and writing into all of us who are MPs, writing into the newspapers. They wouldn't publish it because the newspaper have their own axe to grind, their own priorities, and telling us it's time to rumble. It's time for us to show activity. It's time for us to show the government, but I challenge you all tonight. I challenge the members of the viewing audience. I challenge all right-thinking citizens. December 10th at 7 a.m. the march begins. The march to save this country begins. And I challenge you, ladies and gentlemen, all right-thinking citizens of this country, to join us in this march. Let us show by volume of voices and volume of people. Let us show this heartless government what the reality is. Because as long as we do not do that, as long as we don't do that, they will continue to believe that they have fooled you enough so that you will stay quiet and accept this foolishness that they've been giving us. Ladies and gentlemen, I turn you over to our next speaker. Another young professional. Somebody who has been involved in the public service for many, many, many years. He's a relatively new counselor, but not a relatively new activist. A stalwart of the UNC. A man of service to his community. In particular, a community that's very near and dear to me for all kinds of positive reasons. Ladies and gentlemen, the counselor for La Fortune Davis South. I introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Krishna Prasad Singh.
Thank you, Honorable MP. My brothers and sisters, our national motto, together we aspire, together we achieve, our national anthem, together we stand with each other. Our party, United National Congress, all speaks of unity and togetherness. The PNM is the only party that seeks to divide us. And how do they do that? Let me tell you about flooding. The neglect that they have rendered into this country. They have failed to maintain the water courses, failed to build the drains, and the flooding that we see have isolated communities whenever it rains. Councillor Meru will tell you, when we go down into Woodland, the slightest bit of rain, people are marooned in their house. It broke my heart last week to see a young man holding his child on the pavement because his house, there's 3 feet of water in the house. He cannot go into his house and sit down. The people are isolated on the roadway. Communities are divided because they are marooned through the flooding that we see continuously. And we're seeing an increase of that regionally. And when I say regionally, I mean by regional corporations. And we're seeing it nationally throughout the entire country. At one point in time, we were classified as building houses in lagoons in the southern region, but that has impacted on the entire country. Is Diego Martin a lagoon? Is Port of Spain a lagoon? Is Chaguanas a lagoon? Is Arima a lagoon? No, it's nationally now. This morning we would have seen on the news, the whole of Trinidad and Tobago is a lagoon, and it's isolated little silos of communities. This morning we saw what's happening in Manzanilla, and it seems as though the minister may be responsible for that. I don't know. Maybe we will find out as we go along. But let me tell you about the difference. In 2010, when the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa was sworn in as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, rather than go to a reception, there was flooding in the community, and she put on her tall boots, and she went out there and she served the people, the community. She ensured that people were taken care of, and she didn't stop there. She implemented a climate change policy because she would have seen that this is a trend that is developing, that the rainfall events that we are seeing is increasing. In fact, the records of the Met Office will tell you that the flooding of 2010 was the 8th biggest rainfall event in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, number 8. And the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa immediately put her government to work. Deal with that. Let us put things in place. And a climate change policy was developed. They like to call us the box screen government. But that helped because in 2012, when we had another similar event, how many people were marooned? How many communities suffered? The policy that was put in place and the infrastructural works that were executed brought relief to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Let us compare 2022, 2019, 2017, when there's flooding. Where is the current Prime Minister? On the golf course with his friends. He don't care. The PNM never cared about anybody in Trinidad and Tobago. And they still do not care. And then they come and they tell us about money. I mean, the Honorable MP Tanku would have told you, they lie. That's fiction, not facts. There's no money. COVID, we didn't have money. Oil prices dropped, we didn't have money. But let us look at the historical record from 2015 to 2022. Every single year, there was 3 billion, 4 billion to the Ministry of Works and Transport. Up to this year, a total of $19.3 billion. And let us understand that money, that is $19,000 million that Rohan Sinanan has spent in the last 7 years. Why are the water courses not maintained? Why is the South OROPOUCHE River neglected? Why is the Coromata River neglected? Why is the Trinidad River neglected? Why is there flooding and the washing away of the roadway in Manzanilla today? Why is the Trinidad Point floodgates not maintained? Why does Tulsa Trace continue to flood? Why is the whole of Trinidad and Tobago now a lagoon thanks to the PNM? Where has the $19.3 billion gone, my brothers and sisters? Yeah, well, I agree, my brother. I agree. But there is hope. The United National Congress, our brother Victor Roberts and all members here, true defenders of the democracy of Trinidad and Tobago, we subscribe to the rule of law, and we will do all that is required. We will do all that is required to ensure that each and every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago is treated in an equitable and equal manner so that we can all enjoy the resources of the state. And how do we begin that, my brothers and sisters? On December 10th, we will join our brother in Palo Seco and we will walk to San Fernando. On January 7th, we will join our brother in San Fernando and we will walk to Chaguanas. And on Friday, the 13th of January, we will join our brother, all of us together in Chaguanas, and we will go into Port of Spain and we will flood the streets and tell Rowley and the entire PNM, they must go. Enough is enough. I thank you, my brothers and sisters.
Thank you very much, Councillor Prasad Singh. That is fire. And that is what we are facing every day. I want you to imagine again, ladies and gentlemen, just for 1 second, going to sleep at night in the comfort of your home and waking up 2 o'clock in the morning. And when you look down at your bed, there's a sea, there's cockroach, there are rats, there are snakes in the water. You can't put your foot down, you know why? Because you are in 2 to 3 to 4 feet of water. That is what people in Suchet Trace, that is what people in Tulsa Trace, that is what people in OROPOUCHE West have to endure. But it's not just here. It is not just here. That is what people throughout this country have to experience on a daily basis when rain falls for 10 minutes. Westmoreland's floods, Cocoreat floods. You think that's right? That's absolutely wrong, ladies and gentlemen. But nobody will do a thing until you stand up and say that we're not taking that. It ain't good enough. Ladies and gentlemen, there should never be a time when a parent must be petrified that the life of a child is in danger at 2 o'clock in the morning when it's completely pitch black because they have to take off electricity when flood comes. There must never be a time when the parent must be petrified that the life of a child inside their home is in danger because of floods. And if you have never seen the detriment that flood causes, come to OROPOUCHE. Go to the east. Go to Rio Claro. Go to Mayaro. In fact, open your door. Watch outside. Because everywhere in this country floods as a result of the neglect of this government, of the infrastructure. And that again, remember what I tell you, all the explanations that they've given you from time immemorial. It ain't no money. What we gonna do? It ain't no money. We had to cut this, we had to cut that. That is an absolute lie. It's an absolute lie because they could find money. They wrote off $400 million in NGC. They could find money to do that, and nobody held accountable. They could find $400 million to build a highway to nowhere, but they can't fix a pothole in the road here because this government's priority is corruption. They will facilitate corruption at every stage, ladies and gentlemen, and while they do that, you suffer. Coming to speak to you next, ladies and gentlemen, is a firebrand councillor. This young lady is a councillor of the Siparia Regional Corporation. And she is coming to speak to you tonight about the realities of food prices and how difficult under this government things have become. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the councillor for Siparia East San Francisco South, the Honorable Ramona Victor. Put your hands together, ladies.
Thanks very much, MP. A special good evening to all other MPs that are here, members on the head table. A special good afternoon, my UNC family. Good afternoon. Today, I am here to let you know that better days are coming. Better days are coming under the United National Congress. And that is a fact. Sometimes we feel hurt. Sometimes we get angry, especially when we go to the supermarket. Prices of food rising without ease. Every visit to the supermarket is a higher price. Yet this government refused to raise the minimum wage or to settle any wage negotiation. Under the Kamala Persad-Bissessar government, she removed VAT on over 7,000 food items.
That is performance.
What did the PNM do? All I want to see what the PNM do? Guys, give me some help, please.
Suffering.
So this is the results of the PNM government in Trinidad and Tobago. Today, Bill, eh?
Tell them, Ramona, tell them.
So a 2 kg flour, $18.50. $18.50. 500 ml oil, $15. Brown sugar, $9.95. Rice, $19. A family of 5, $19.
Very cheap, brother.
That, of course. Potato, $7.93. Powder milk, watch it, $6.95.
Single use.
If you want to make a little roti and hot cheese, with cheese, $11.97. Garlic, $4. The snacks for the children. All you watch carefully. Watch carefully at the snacks. So the child's chocolate, $2. The Devon biscuit, $1.50. The child's chairs, $1. And picked here how much homes are unemployed today. Unemployed. And this is a menu. This is $100. So the total on my bill is $97.80. $2 change from $100. $2 change from $100. How far this could reach? Probably 2 meals, no chicken, nothing like that. No peas, no toilet paper. No toothpaste. Nothing at all. Aloo. Thanks very much, guys. So I remind you, Kamala Prasad Bisesa removed VAT over 7,000 food items. I know that there are people, sometimes they don't know where the next meal is coming from. Some of you reach out to me about a hamper. How far could a hamper reach? How long? We all have been abused by government ministers, calling us greedy. One PNM representative even advised the population to go back to coal pot. Now, the only thing we going back to is good governance, and that is with UNC. The PNM have abused us, the citizens, in every way possible. But we all have an opportunity to tell the PNM and all the members, all of them, enough is enough. We are fed up. We cannot live under their management no more. Victor Roberts, my dear brother, he have planned a march for the 10th of December. I am asking you all, let's all join with him. Let's show them that we cannot take it no more. This is an opportunity for us to go out there and say enough is enough. This is the opportunity to stand together for a better red, white, and black. We are strong. We have a leader in the name of Kamala Prasad Bisesa, who have taught us to stand strong. She teaches us to stand for our rights. She teaches us to accept nothing but the best. So now that we are in a position where our citizens cannot afford a proper nutritious meal, we must let our voices be heard. There are ladies who work for like $840 a fortnight. And if there's a holiday in that fortnight, the money could be less. We have to face the supermarket. We have to face the cashier. We have to pay for high food price, while our PNM government tell us to wean off the government. Today, I tell you as Councillor for Separia East San Francisco South, wean off the PNM. These people are wicked. They do not care about us nor our children. How much more must we watch videos of parents stealing from supermarket as a last resource just to put food on the table for that family? How much more of our children must go to school with the expectation of a lunch, and when it's lunchtime, no lunch was provided at the school? How much longer can we take that embarrassment by the cashier? Because when we're expecting the grocery bill to come up at a certain price, and when we reach there, the bill come up in excess. How much more we could take that embarrassment? How much more can we take the government minister telling us that we are greedy? How much more will we allow the people who have the responsibility to take care of our country to mismanage the money and the resources of this country? How much more could you all take? Enough is enough. Come out on December 10th and let this government know we are not accepting high rise in food. No. Brothers and sisters, we must act now to save our beloved country. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Victor. Ladies and gentlemen, how difficult it must be for people who no longer have jobs, because over 50,000 jobs have been permanently lost. 50,000 jobs permanently lost. But over the last 7 years, 100,000 people who had jobs in 2015 under Kamala Prasad Bisesa no longer have jobs. What does that tell you? This government moving forward, or they're moving backward? The whole country going backward. The only people going forward is PNM friends, family, and financiers. Big men making big money. Small people catching their nenen. We could stay quiet only for so long, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to stand up and speak out. Joining me tonight to address you is a man who is accustomed speaking out. He is a voice on the radio on a continuous basis. And tonight he's going to speak on an issue that touches every single one of us. In San Francisco a few minutes ago, there was a shooting. It's coming home, you know, ladies and gentlemen. Every single one of you will be affected by crime. In San Francisco, here in a rural community, right outside the school that Rohanson and abandoned and refused to fix, the flooding in that area, right outside that school, there has been a shooting. Ladies and gentlemen, coming tonight to address you is the Counselor for Advocate San Francisco North, a firebrand himself, ladies and gentlemen, Counselor Dudnat Nehru.
Thank you very much, MP Tanku. Everyone present here this evening, a pleasant good evening. MPs, my good friend Mr. Victor Roberts. So this evening my topic is crime. And as MP Tanku just said, there was a shooting somewhere in San Francisco. You know, not too long ago, there were hotspots throughout Trinidad. Now the whole country is a hotspot. Whole of Trinidad and Tobago is a hotspot. This morning, they found a head of a man in a drain up some in Maloney up that side. The head. They cut out the man's neck and threw it in the drain. That is what they did. So, I want to deal a little bit with this PNM and this crime situation. When you elect a government that operates like a gang themselves, what do you expect in this country? This PNM government operates like gangsters. They treat people like dogs in this country. Nobody is no longer safe in this country. This country is engulfed in crime. People have self-imposed curfews in their homes throughout this country. There are certain people who don't come out their houses after dark. We have a national security minister. He, every time you watch him, anywhere he sit down, he's sleeping. In the parliament, in the ministry, he's sleeping with his mouth wide open. I don't know. The man I walk in, he ain't doing nothing. The crime situation getting worse. So what? He tired 24/7. He don't sleep home. He only sleeping on the job. It's time that Rowley fire this man. You realize, not too long ago, there was a shooting somewhere up in Diego Martin where a policeman was shot by his colleague. They held a young man indicating that he shot the police. When the ballistics test was done, it was revealed that the shot came from the police gun. You know the fella who they held and was accused of shooting became a state witness. You know he was killed about 2 weeks ago? He was killed about 2 weeks ago. So even they're saying, if you see something, say something. I telling you, if you see something, shut up. Because you're not safe. They cannot guarantee you your safety if you see a crime in this country and you go down in the station and you report it. Before you reach home, if you meet a crooked policeman, the man you report don't know that you're reporting and he might be by your gate waiting for you. You know, last week, I coming down the creek. When I reached by the roundabout by the cremation site, I was on the right, so I decided to take the left. As I take to the left, a black Suzuki Swift tried to overtake me on the shoulder. Well, me I pull on one side because I had to pull back on a vehicle. You know this man overtake me. And when he reach in front of me, take out a gun, you know, and showing me through the back windscreen, showing me the gun. I ain't want to tell you what I do because if he watching this program tonight, he might be waiting by my gate for me when I go home. I went in the station, I took the number of the vehicle, and I made a report. They immediately send out a SOS to block the vehicle going down on Labray side. I ain't even gone back to find out if they stopped the vehicle. Now, I take a brave chance there. If I hear anything happen to me tomorrow, the number there on my car, I have the picture of the car in my phone. All you check it and all you know that is the man. I tell you, you're not safe in this country. You know, everything that this PNM has done to this country is almost a crime. You remember during the COVID, how many of our citizens was locked out of this country, and we begged this government to bring them home. They lock out our citizens of this country. People were living in shelters abroad. They didn't have money. That is a crime. That is a crime against our citizens. When you take away the gas subsidy and you take money out of people's pocket, that is a crime against the citizens of this country. When you cannot, according to Councillor Ramona, allow people to have buying power for food, that is a crime against the population. We need to stand up. We need to join Victor Roberts and get on that march. We heard our colleagues talking about the ministry and no works. Well, let me tell you something how the crime start. A bandit don't come with a bicycle or borrow a bicycle from Keith, Scotland. They just come with a car. So they come in the night, they thief your car, they go down the road, they change the number plate, and they drive in so you can identify the car. How many years now Rohan Sinanan promising to regulate the making of number plates so that we wouldn't have people on the roadside making number plates. These number plates will be made in an area and properly registered with a seal and a code that you could read when the police stop you. So nobody could have a false number plate to put on a vehicle to go and do crime. Rohan, how hard that is to do, boy. I know all you fellas busy checking money and fixing all your business because your salary nice. You can't don't check your salary for the month. Oh God, think about the people. Do something about the regulating the industry with making number plates so they can't thief your car and put a false number plate to go down the road to commit crime. But you know what? That head they find this morning, I don't know if they go find the body. But I'm telling you, we have some men in government don't have no head. We have some men in government walking around without head. That is this government. You tell me, what have they done in 7 years to impress you? You know, sometimes I feel the PNM supporters I have no head too. Them gone back and vote back that government in 2020 after all the trouble they see. They take away 18,000 food cards they boast in. That is a crime on the poor people in this country. That is a crime, and they boasting that they do it. And you know, sometimes I feel sorry for we supporters, but I don't feel sorry for the PNM supporters. They take away your food card, you gone back and you vote for them again. You helping them commit crime. The supporters of the PNM helping them to commit crime. What have we do? Everybody suffering in this country. Them talking about landslide by them. Here now, it have a road San Francisco day. I don't even pass there again. I the councillor there. I just take a bicycle. Like Keith Scotland say take a bicycle. I just take a bicycle and ride there because I sure something will fall out my vehicle when I reach on that road. Everything that is done in this country, well I can't say done. Everything that is not done is a crime that is perpetrated against the population. And we can't see that. You tell me what they're doing. They're fixing your road. They're fixing crime. They take away your gas subsidy. They take away your food card. They put VAT on food. What you get? What you ever get since PNM come into power? What have this population gotten? They shut down Petrotrain. They put over 10,000 people out of a job. All you going back and vote PNM in 2020. I just want to know if that Balize juice really have something that them people can't get out of. I think we had to talk to our leader. We had to get some doctor to do some research and get an injection that could take away whatever that Bali juice have and put some sense in them PNM supporters head. You're suffering. You can't come out your house. Crime. your child getting killed, your father, your mother, and you're still going back and supporting PNM? And brother here now, he has some of them. I see one of them going down in a patch, down in a bamboo patch. I say, where you going, partner? He say, boy, if you know how Balize gets scarce, I cut in Balize to go convention on the 4th. Today is only the 24th. He looking for Balize to go convention because he say it's scarce. You know why it's scarce? Because all the rain killed the Balize patch too. Just how the Balize patch die, we're going to kill the PNM when they call the election. We're going to kill them literally, politically. We're going to kill them and take back governance of this country. They have done nothing to this country. Every time we are facing this year the highest crime level ever in this country. We will surpass, the last one was 550 or something like that. We're going to surpass that. And we passed it already? And by the time I talk in here, they must be done shoot 2 of them somewhere up north side. You understand? So by the time I reach home, it's about 5:55. And this government sit down quiet like nothing is happening. You understand? But I want to know when Trinidadians go do like Tobago and run PNM out of this country, just how they run them from Tobago. They try to thief our election in Tobago. That's a crime. All you following what went on with Vincent Nelson and the Attorney General? All you realize the deal he cut? The man tried to take we taxpayers' dollars to bribe a man and promise him all kind of things, to go and lie on the opposition and to lock up 2 men. You know, so Rowley sit down and all of a sudden he get quiet. Al-Rawi say, yes, I spoke to 4 other ministers and I had the consent to cut that deal. Rowley say, me no not know that. Well, I want to know if Rowley have a twin brother, because I hear somewhere in Miami had somebody resemble he. They collect some money and they saying, was he? I can't believe we had 2 like he. So who Al-Rawi really talk to? And this is what is happening in this country today. This country has fallen apart. Literally fallen apart. You understand? When they tell you they're taking away that $2 billion gas subsidy, and short man come, no brain come, and tell you you get $11 billion more, he never talk about bringing any relief to the people. That's a crime on the population. When you could pay your colleague wife, or your auntie, or your uncle in NN, $30 million, and have people that had 30 cents in their pocket to even take a bus, that is a crime on this population. What do we have to do to get people to come out and support this march on the 10th of December? We have to stand up and unite against this. You know, we can't go in Port of Spain with no 5,000 and 10,000 people, you know. We have to show the PNM that the country is fed up. The time for we to take action and force them to call a general election. Rowley feel he's too comfortable where he sits, and he believes that he still have the support to go back into power. We have to send a clear message to them. It's time to get out, because you cannot do the job. You are a bunch of gangsters. All you are concerned about is fixing your ministers and their family and their friends while the country burn and citizens suffering to put food on the table. You are a criminal government. We can't get security in we communities. The leader said the other day, Stuart Young driving around like if he's the prime minister with big security detail. How much prime minister this country have? How much? Stuart Young is not entitled to security detail, but he have policeman, and when you call the station, they have a car. The car have a tire. The car can't start. Rowley, you are a criminal. You are a criminal government taking advantage of the citizens of this country. And we will put a stop to that. We will put a stop to that. You have to come down from there, Rowley. You have to listen to the people. You have to listen to the people. Our country is unsafe. The environment, the roads in this country is gone. Food prices out the window, as Ramona said. I see man, you know, long time you go in the gas station. Give me a 20 day. You can buy $20 gas again. By the time they put on the pump and you take out the nozzle, It's time to put it back in because your $20 gone. That is under PLM. That is what the PLM have been doing to you. They have been taking advantage of you for several years. And we sit by and we allow them to get away with everything. We leave them like nothing. You could have ever see a minister family collecting $30 million for contracts on that Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Here now, they had a drag one mannequin, they had a drag about 5 in Port of Spain. But nobody is saying a word. When ministers and the families collect millions of dollars, that is a crime against this population because people cannot get jobs. The road is bad. Everything has fallen apart. And Rowley, you're playing your dumb and you're playing stupid. My father used to always say, who don't hear will feel. You will feel. Thank you.
You see why I say he's a firebrand? That is why facts, not fiction. Facts, not fiction. And I want to tell you something. It's not just one minister sleeping, you know. They're just sleeping. They're missing. They're missing. While crime high, you're hearing anything from the Minister of National Security? Not a word. While people flooding out throughout Trinidad and Tobago, you hearing anything from Rohan Sinaran? Nothing. Nothing. All of them disappear like they get pip. Well, I believe that we are being run by a government of twins. I feel all of them have twins and triplets in their family. I don't think it's one of them. Because it can't be that we have a Minister of Finance as dotish as this one. He had to have a twin brother and he get dotish for the two of them. It cannot be one. You can't tell me we have a Prime Minister as dotish as this one. He had to have a twin brother and he's dotish enough for two of them. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a crisis. Trinidad and Tobago is in a crisis. You know it. I don't want to tell you that. You know it. You feel it every day. The difficulty I have is that we sit down quiet. We're afraid to talk out. We're afraid that if we talk out, we're going to get victimized and they're going to take with the little job we have. And we're afraid. And while we're afraid, you know what's happening? These people go on and get knife and fork and digging out your eye. When will you stand up? Well, let me give you the answer for that. Let me give you the answer for that. On the 10th of December, join us, ladies and gentlemen. Join us. Join my brother, Mr. Victor. Join us. Let us show this government facts, not fiction, that citizens of this country are totally fed up. And while we're talking about fed up, let me introduce you to another young gentleman. Notice the amount of young people we have talking tonight, you know. Because that's the future of the country. And the future of the country is telling the present of the country that they're saying good enough. Do better or get out. And after 7 years, you know that they can't do better. So what are they supposed to do? Get the hell out. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce your next speaker. He is another young gentleman, a brilliant young professional. He is from Barrackpore South. He is the councillor for Barrackpore Southwest. Barrackpore West. But like me, he represents not just the UNC. He represents Trinidad and Tobago when he speaks. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for young councillor, Mr. Nicholas Kanhai.
Pleasant good evening. Thank you very much. Very hardworking and dynamic member of Parliament for OROPOUCHE West, Mr. Devendranath Tanku. And I would really like to pay high commendation for kickstarting this mobilization meeting. These meetings where communities, where NGOs, where residents have an opportunity to come together and mobilize, share their views, share their ideas, and listen to the plights and the issues facing people around Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, we are here joining our hands, and soon we will join side by side with our brother Victor Roberts as we march from Palo Seco to Port of Spain. You all watched the football game today. Portugal played Ghana. Of course, Portugal won. And
Haters, you all will come for me on social media, but that's all right. Cristiano Ronaldo, he said this: "I work with brands I believe in," and very much, a lot longer, or a lot. How do I say it? Before joining politics, let me say that. Before joining politics, I was very much involved in temple and community groups and sports clubs and so on, youth groups and so on, and doing a lot of community work there. And the UNC attracted me. In 2019, the UNC attracted me to come forward and be a part of an organization that could take this country forward. I understood what we did between 2010 to 2015, and I understand that the UNC, under the leadership of Mrs. Kamala Prasad-Bisesa, and our national executive, our councillors, our members of parliament, our senators, the entire structure of the United National Congress, we are ready for government. Do you agree? We are ready for government. For too long, and I'm going to get into my substantive matter, which I will discuss shortly, but I want to share this message with you. I am tired of hearing this country saying that we don't have an alternative government. That is fact. That is fiction. The fact is, the United National Congress has stood at every crossroads, at every issue, at every struggle that has faced our residents, our peoples of Trinidad and Tobago. We have stood together, we have raised our voices, we have represented these issues in every forum, whether it's with peaceful demonstrations or in the parliament, outside the parliament, writing letters and having videos and media releases. Every opportunity we have gotten, we have done that. We have represented you the best way we knew how. We will continue to do that. But we are not an island. Those councillors and MPs and senators, we are not an island. We need your support. We need your support. And we are here making a humble plea to you, Trinidad and Tobago, not only Barrackpore West, which I am a proud representative of, but Trinidad and Tobago. We need to stand together and support Mr. Victor Roberts. We need to support the United National Congress, because if you don't support the UNC, that means you're accepting what you are getting from the PNM. And nobody is happy under the PNM. Not a single person. You know, there's this thing called 1 in 9. Anybody know what that 1 in 9 means? You see the people who live in Patiram Trace and Old San Fernando Road, and those who live in Ramjatan Trace and Bownat Trace and Sunrise Road and Adi Street, they will tell you what 1 in 9 is. 1 in 9 is your water supply. We are located at the end of the water supply network, according to WASA. And we struggle with this thing called 1 in 9. Because it seems whatever happens throughout the country, and MP will tell you this, his phone is inundated with calls every 9 days because his supply don't come when it is supposed to. It seems that if there's a mechanical issue in Tobago, the people in Penal Bay, we will be affected by the water supply too. Did you know that 321 days into the year, residents from these areas that are scheduled for that 1 in 9, they got a supply only 35 times? 35 times out of 321 days is an indictment. It's a crime on the citizens. And these are people who are paying a water rate every quarter. The same water rate as Westmoreland, the same water rate as every other part of this country. But yet still we cannot get a proper supply, potable supply of water. That's an indictment on our citizens. And I'll take you back to COVID-19. When we were locked down and people had to work from home and students had to be homeschooled, we were using a lot more water. We had to use water, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. We had to use water to bathe, to clean, to cook, for everything, to wash our clothes. Everything we had to use a lot more water for, and nothing was put in place to supplement that extra usage. Now, COVID has come and gone, but the situation remains the same. As a matter of fact, it feels like the situation is the same for the last 7 years. Because you all will remember between 2010 to 2015, Mrs. Prasad-Bisesa led a government that took our water supply from 17% to 70%. How? It could only take a PNM government. It could only take a PNM government to undo that. Because up to now, they have not been able to explain to this country and these regions why that happened. And I don't want to hear this thing about turbidity. I don't want to hear this thing about weak lines or, ruptured mains and poor infrastructure and so on. Because when leaks are reported, did you know that WASA don't work over the weekend? They can't come. So if you report a leak on a Friday, you have to wait until they mobilize a crew to come on Monday or Tuesday. And that has happened throughout. So, and by the way, the water wasting all this time, correct. So it seems like that's your modus operandi. I am told, and not told, but we can all experience it, Penal Debe is the fastest growing region in the country. Granted. But if you have a major development in the country, in this region, then you're expected to use more water. So do we have the capacity to treat with the rapid rate of development, whether it's household or commercial or industrial or otherwise? No, we don't. So for 7 years, this government, we have been telling, and this is another problem with this government, not only with water supply, we continue to provide solutions, we continue to make suggestions and suggest ideas. The government either discards it, or they take it, they eat it, and they do nothing with it. Nothing. They have done nothing with the suggestions that we have brought forward. So is it a government that is in waiting? We have a lack of ideas and suggestions? No. We present every Monday night and every Sunday, we present solutions to every issue that we have encountered. We have presented solutions. But they haven't taken any of those solutions. They don't.
Solution when you the problem.
Well, that is a problem. Where's the solution to that? If the government are working for you, get rid of them. We have to get rid of the problem. And you know what? The Ministry of Public Utilities and WASA, they have consistently been telling us that they are looking, they understand, they acknowledge that Penal Debe water supply is an issue. They have said that they are going to revitalize legacy heritage wells. In Wilson Road. We've been hearing this for months. They even told us they're going to look at revitalizing the Mora Dam or actually building the infrastructure to get that on the network. MP, they say the same thing over and over and over and over as an effort to distract, to tell you we're doing something. Those health workers who are supposed to be getting that grant, that COVID grant, for their service, where are they? The transport grant we're supposed to get, where are they? So they keep telling you things, giving you some sort of fake and feign hope. But it never materializes. So they'll stay true to their name, promises never materialize. So all the solutions they proffered for us, for our region, for water supply, failure. Nothing has happened. They talk about these improving the water supply in the Penal Debe region, utilizing funding for the 2022-2023 budget allocation. We are 2 months into the financial year, 10 months to go. We are almost guaranteed that no solution is going to be forthcoming.
Nothing from them, boy.
So scheduling, we have an issue with scheduling repairs over the weekend. We have an issue of compromised assets. Every time there's a landslip in Clark Road or Sanahi Trace or Debe, WASA is affected. The pipeline breaks off. So water supply is obviously affected again there. So where's the asset management? What is the status of, we are calling on the minister and WASA to give us a status update on the projects announced to boost supply in the Penal Debe region. We are further asking, telling you rather, that the Penal Debe Regional Corporation, we are allocated $600,000 for the year. That may sound like plenty for you, for a lot of people. But we have 612 homes. 612 homes that do not have access to pipe-borne supply of water, so we have to service them. And many times people who actually have a pipe-borne supply, they ask the corporation, they call the corporation. When you tell them no, of course, they're creating war against their own people. When you tell them no, well, why I can't get it? Because you're paying a water supply. You tell them to call 800-4426.
They don't answer.
They don't answer. You're number 42 on the line, waiting to get a work request number. If you don't have a work request number, you cannot get a supply. And in many cases, people in Ramdari Trace, for example, they have made a request since the 14th of November, sending the work request number, and they don't get it. And that's quite correct. The water is all around us except in our tanks. I could go on and talk a lot. But tonight, it's really how I started. Are you fed up, Trinidad and Tobago? Yes. I am fed up. Yes. I am particularly fed up. We can't continue as we are and expect the same solution, the same result. We have to be crazy. There's craziness. So do something different. Where is your voice? I am raising mine today. I am trying to represent my people. I'm trying to represent the people who feel they don't have a voice. But let me remind you, you do have a voice. You do. Every single one of us have a voice. Every single one of us have a brain. Yes. And if you sit down and if you continue being passive, then we will reach nowhere. We will remain with a PNM government, taking advantage of us left, right, and center with no recourse. I am pledging my support to our brother, Victor Roberts. We are going to defend our democracy. He's starting this walk from Palo Seco in the first phase and moving to San Fernando. If you live within this region, if you live within this route, I encourage all of you on December 10th, whatever you have to do, get it done before that. Make some time. If you don't, what is he saying? If you can't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Well, we're not falling for nothing. This or that done. We are a party, we are a people ready, able to take government. And we are ready to take the PNM out of government. You agree? So all of you who are here, the hundreds of you who are here and the other hundreds who are looking on the live stream, if you agree with me, share this message. Be a part of this march. And be a part of something that you want to be a part of. Be a part of a brand united National Congress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kanhai. Ladies and gentlemen, Councillor Kanhai just raised a very important issue. He asked, come. WTF? Where are the funds? Yeah, I know I was going somewhere else. I know I was going somewhere else. But that too, because under this government, you know how much money they spend in the last 7 years? $500 billion. And what you get for that? Somebody asked earlier. Nah, you get plenty, brother. You get crime. You get poverty. You get unemployment. You get high food prices. You get pothole in the road. You get flood. It's pressure left, right, and center everywhere else, except in the pipe. Except in the pipe. You get corruption left, right, and center because that's what this government is famous for. That's what this government is famous for. So what are you doing about it, ladies and gentlemen? I want to invite my next colleague to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to also recognize in the audience one of my colleagues who has journeyed all the way down to this heartland here to be with us tonight as a show of support. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I have with me the MP for Shogunas West, Mr. Dinesh Ramboli. Tonight I also want to invite to the podium in a few seconds a lady who is, how else do I describe her? She's a warrior, a fighter, a powerhouse, a stalwart of the United National Congress. She has been an activist of this party since she was so small. She is so small again. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most popular faces in this country because she has been a champion of the poor and of the underprivileged. She has walked this country from length to breadth, and she will be joining us when we join with Member Roberts, when we join with our brother to show this country that is enough. Ladies and gentlemen, the Member of Parliament for St. Augustine, the Honorable Khadija Amin.
Thank you very much, Member of Parliament for Labre, Mr. Victor Roberts. I am pleased to be joining you all the way from St. Augustine constituency, hosted by my colleague, MP for OROPOUCHE West, Mr. Dave Tanku. And I know that in addition to those of you in this room, and there are so many joining us live. And I left St. Augustine in flood. The people in Valsayn have been marooned for the 6th time in 2 months. Caymans are coming up. Spring Village, they are marooned. Bamboo. the St. Joseph River bank is collapsing. These people didn't go and build in the lagoon. These people are facing this constant flood because of the neglect and incompetence of the PNM government. And so I feel it is important for us to stand up with this March for Democracy led by Mr. Victor Roberts. When we think of democracy, one of the first things we think about is voting, not so? Yes. But under this PNM government, we have increased food prices, increased murder, increased unemployment. We have the lowest representation, the lowest form of caring for people. And the PNM knows that if they go to the polls now, they will get licks coming and going. And that, my friends, is the only reason they have postponed the local government elections. No other reason. You listen to their rationale. I tried to listen to Faris Alwari making this announcement and him bumbling his way through an explanation as to why local government elections must be postponed for reform. But then, last night, the Prime Minister was on the PNM platform talking about half-dead councillors. The PNM has half-dead councillors, so they decide not to face the polls because they know they will get licks coming and going. Democracy in every form must be preserved and cherished. It does not matter whether you will win an election or lose an election. You must have an election and let the people decide. Let the people decide. But what they have done is so dangerous. Our councillors have been elected to serve for a 3-year term. They have made a suggestion, they have made changes in the law to now make councillors full-time. We have councillors who are teachers, who are attorneys. Now, when I say we in Trinidad and Tobago, there are both PNM and UNC councillors who have different professions. Some choose to be councillors full-time on the very small stipend that they get. And the husband and wife mind them because you can't live on that salary. You cannot live on that salary. So we are in agreement with councillors getting a salary that is in keeping with the hard work that our UNC councillors put in. But our dear Prime Minister, admitting that the PNM councillors are half dead, after they are following their leader, half dead, and he decided that he doesn't want to have the elections now. When councillors who are presently holding another position, it might be a work in the government service, it might be as a medical practitioner, it might be as a teacher, it might be as a checker, a laborer, wherever they are employed, insurance agents. Those persons are now by law required to either give up their job or resign as a councillor. And you are putting the people of Trinidad and Tobago at a disadvantage because they could have a situation where their councillor has resigned and there is no local government election in sight. If that is your explanation, then the practical thing to do, I am not an attorney at law. I will come to the legal case led by the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, Senior Counsel, in a bit. But the practical thing for me, as a person who served as a councillor for 10 years, who was the chairman of a regional corporation, who continued to be in local government, the practical thing is to call the election and let those who wish to serve under the new terms and conditions offer themselves for election, be screened by their political party, and let the people of Trinidad and Tobago decide in an election. So no how, no way is Faris Alwari or Keith Rowley making sense. We're talking common sense. But there are laws as well. And I wanted tonight, as a person whose heart is in local government, and on behalf of all our councillors and aldermen in this country, say a special word of appreciation to the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, Senior Counsel. Because she has led a cause and brought a matter for the court to decide. That woman had the testicular fortitude to take the PNM to court in defense of democracy in Trinidad and Tobago. So while the court will have to decide on the things that the law attorneys have put forward, I am saying common sense make before book, and Rowley and Alwari seem to have zero common sense. Well, listen, people who are attorneys, they also tell us that Faris had no book sense when it comes to law either. But I am really here in defense of democracy, and which is why I have chosen to join Victor Roberts in defense of democracy. Nothing in Trinidad and Tobago will change until there is a change in government. And we have the power to change the government by standing up for democracy, by voting out the PNM. When Victor Roberts starts his march in Palo Seco and comes up to San Fernando on the 10th of December, the people from the entire South Trinidad must join. When he goes to the second phase that moves from San Fernando to Chaguanas on the 7th of January, which is another Saturday, the whole of South and the whole of Central should be joining. And when he goes on his third phase, moving from Chaguanas to Port of Spain, on the Friday the 13th, I wanted to write down that date, you know. Because I want
Black Friday for PNM.
I want every citizen in this country. This is a dark day that we face. And on Friday the 13th of January, the entire Trinidad and Tobago must join with Victor Roberts in this march for democracy and stand against the PNM. Because it is time for them to go. Over the past couple days, we are seeing so many situations, thanks to social media, about our entire country collapsing. We are seeing roads that are major arteries in this country just collapsing. This didn't happen overnight. This didn't happen because of climate change. They have moved from blaming Kamla to blaming COVID to blaming the war in Russia. What else are they going to blame before they realize they're blaming climate change now? Yeah. What must happen before they realize that they are the problem and it is time for them to go? What must happen? The answer is simple. We in Trinidad and Tobago must stand up. There's no doubt about it. We sit in our homes and we lament that this is the highest murder rate in the country. We complain about the price of fuel, but then we have no choice. We complain about unemployment, joblessness. We complain about high food prices, oh God, every time we go in the grocery. I want to thank Ramona for doing that demonstration with $100 in groceries. You know how many people is have to put back things when they go in the shop or grocery? You know how many people is buy a little piece of cheese, so? Yes. Half a butter. You remember a long time you used to buy half a butter? We have gone back to that stage. And we are admitting, all of us in Trinidad and Tobago, and I want to tell you, my UNC brothers and sisters, I want to tell you, we're on the East-West corridor, and I want to tell you, it is not only UNC who is saying that this is the worst government ever. The PNM people are saying that this is the worst government led by Keith Rowley, and it is time for them to go. This government has overseen the worst flooding because of their neglect and incompetence, nothing else. This government has overseen some of the worst roads. Roads are collapsing because of their own incompetence. This government has created the worst assault on democracy. You can't even talk. They're coming after you. We all have to stand up. But I want to warn you, when you take this decision to take a stand, there are consequences. There are consequences because in this country, the attack on democracy is not only by PNM postponing the elections. A part of democracy is your freedom of speech, your freedom of expression, your freedom to associate, political association. But what happens when people speak out in this country? The PNM targets them and victimizes them. And I know that there are people who stay quiet because they're afraid to be victimized. There are people who are afraid that they will lose their jobs if they speak out because the PNM is wicked and vindictive. There are people who are afraid to speak out because they are afraid that they will be targeted. And there are people who have spoken out and borne the consequences. But I want to tell you, if one matchstick stand up and you crack it, it will break. But if a bunch of matchsticks held together like this, nobody could just go just so and break it. There is power in numbers. There is power in numbers. And so if one person goes out and speak against the government, it's easy for the government to target them. But if we all collectively stand up, they cannot break us. They cannot break us. And how the PNM target you, one of the first things they say, if you speak out against the PNM, is that you are UNC. Well, I want to know what they are saying about their own PNM people speaking out against Rowley's incompetence. Them is UNC too? They're not UNC? There are people who are citizens of Trinidad and Tobago who are not necessarily politically affiliated, professional people who, when they speak out, they call them UNC. But you know what else they do? They call them unpatriotic. Anybody who speaks against the government is unpatriotic. Well, I can tell you, my name is Khadija Amin, and I am a patriot of Trinidad and Tobago. And the people who are patriots of this country, the people who love Trinidad and Tobago and want better for this country, know that PNM must go. If you love your country, you will hate the PNM and what it is doing to destroy this country. So do not be afraid to speak out if you are a true patriot of Trinidad and Tobago. And Victor Roberts is a true patriot. Give him a round of applause. The first time Victor Roberts said he marching from Palo Seco to Port of Spain, I said, this man mad. And he made it a reality. And I was privileged to join him. And I think, sometimes you do something that other people at first will say, what craziness is this? But when you do it and they realize it is something you can accomplish, they join you. And I want to thank you for being that trailblazer and taking that stand. And so now, because we know it is possible to march from Palo Seco to Port of Spain, the entire Trinidad and Tobago must join Victor Roberts in this march for democracy. When the chairperson, your MP for OROPOUCHE West, was introducing me, he spoke about my history in the party. And the truth is that before I joined the UNC, I was active in my community because of love of my community and love of my country. And that passion is still in me today. And for every one of us, some of us are elected, but for every citizen, there is space for that passion to be ignited. And I want to ask you, as we face the darkest days in Trinidad and Tobago, as we face unemployment and roads collapsing and flood every day, I want to ask you to let us make a stand. I want to ask you to join the March for Democracy. But even beyond that, I want to ask you that we must not let the PNM get the better of us. We must be brave and speak out. We must be brave and stand up. We must be brave and march. We must be brave and walk. We must be brave and go in front of the parliament and protest. And on Friday, the opposition has a motion in parliament, a motion to speak about the rising crime in Trinidad and Tobago. And there will be other places for us to talk about that, but of course crime is one of the most critical issues affecting Trinidad and Tobago. And because it is a private motion, we were allowed to bring it. You know, sometimes in parliament we bring motions and it is not allowed. We in the opposition brought a motion to debate COVID before it was so rampant in Trinidad and Tobago. And you know what they said? Not important. Previously, we brought a motions on crime. Very recently, MP Saddam Hussein, and he was told it's not important. Because these things are not important to the PNM. Flooding, a motion to flooding. We are drowning, and flooding is not important to this government. Mayaro and Rio Claro will be cut off soon because the Mayaro Manzanilla Road collapsing, the Naparima Mayaro Road collapsing, and you have so many citizens who might be stranded, and that is not important to the PNM. So when the opposition takes the stand to debate crime and brings the fight to the government, it will be interesting to hear the excuses they will come up with. So, once again, it is an opportunity for us to be in front of the parliament, voicing our opinions. And any citizen, whether you are UNC, PNM, or none, can go in front of the parliament and make a stand and make a demonstration. You could make your own placard. The law allows for you to do that. And there was a time when the PNM was using COVID to shut us down. All you remember that? As soon as you say you're going and march, you're sending the police. But I thank our UNC attorneys who have stood with us, even in those times. But now, they don't have that poor excuse to shut us down. And those who were brave enough to take a stand during the COVID-19 pandemic, even with the restrictions and taking all their precautions, we salute you. And now that more people are coming out, I want to give my commitment to stand in defense of democracy, alongside the defenders of democracy, alongside Victor Roberts, alongside my fellow members of parliament, councillors, people of Trinidad and Tobago, led by the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa. I thank you very much.
Licks like fire, licks like peas, all in the name of the defense of democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't believe nothing this government says. We talking facts tonight, not fiction. But when you hear the Prime Minister talk, and you hear Stuart Young talk, and you hear Al Rawi talk, and you hear Reginald and more talk, you know it's lie, non-stop. You take it from a partner. Because they're paranging from a long time. This is the only country in the world that I know of where a man can lie in a court, admit he lied, get caught and have no choice but to admit he lied, get kicked out of a case, costing this government millions of dollars, and guess what? He becomes the Attorney General. But you see, he replaced a next one named Faris Al-Rawi. Well, he probably named Faris Al-Lai, who lied on the political leader of the UNC and had to apologize in Parliament. You see, he lied too, but they're following their leader. The biggest liar in this country is a man named Keith Christopher Rowley. You know, if he come here tonight and says night outside, you know, I had to watch outside because you can't believe nothing he say. That man promised OWTU. Hear what we talking to earlier? Are they going to get a refinery and chain them up just before the local government election? He mamagai them. He mamagai the population. He mamagai the workers. Are they getting refinery? Guess what? 1 year passed, 2 years passed, years will pass, and the union now starting to realize the devil that they make deal with. Not good, all bad. Ladies and gentlemen, I have one more guest before we bring out the feature speaker. This is a lady, quiet in demeanor, very, very, very quiet, but she's a tigress in the parliament. She was able to bust the throat politically of a man who was a minister, sitting minister of government, when she was able to take Maruga Tableland away from the PNM and bring it home to the UNC. And she will do it again. That's why they're running, you know. That's why they're running. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the Honorable Member of Parliament from Maruga Tableland, Miss Michelle Benjamin.
Good night to my UNC family. Good night to my family locked on all the various media. Good night to my colleagues seated here. Good night to my counselors. Well, I was a fellow counselor. I got to serve my fellow counselors. Right? But I believe in that fight. You see that statement that MP Amin raised that our goodly Prime Minister stated. That's insulting. I know how hard counselors work. Have to be. Because I listened to my colleagues speak here tonight, and I could tell you, we battle. We as counselors, well, I have to speak because I came from amongst you, and I know we battle. I know sometimes we take that stipend and we spend it to feed our family. Sometimes we take that stipend and we buy a load of gravel to fix a road. Sometimes I took my stipend when I was a counselor, and I want to tell you a story here tonight. When I was a counselor, there was a fire. I was at a graduation ceremony in Cowan Hamilton, and a fire occurred. And I left that ceremony. I went in the hardware. It was a mountain. And I swiped my card, and I built back apply structure that cost me $14,000. So that was 2 stipend because I was to open a bill. And that is what UNC counselors would do. That is the cloth we cut from, because we were taught by our political leader to serve the people. And what we have inherited, or what we are going through this PNM administration, is an administration that's not here to serve us. It's an administration here to victimize us. So when I was invited here tonight, and I was told it's a mobilization meeting for a march that we have to join, because I don't have to come and tell you. All my colleagues before would have told you, and you're feeling it as a whole grocery outside. When you hear tick, 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 you're wondering, that can't have enough money? We all wondering. It doesn't matter if you're a business person. It doesn't matter if you're a URP worker. We all are put in a position that we have to rotate which bill we pay this month. We cannot afford to pay all our bills. If credit card due, if light bill, you have to wonder, what's well, it don't make sense paying that one because you don't get it. So when, no, I heard
Nicholas Canhai, and he gave a true account as what is going on with regards to WASA. WASA no longer works on weekend. So I want you to paint a picture. I want to paint a picture here tonight. In my constituency margin, I already plagued with landslip. If a leak occurs and you call WASA, that leak not turning off till Monday morning. I already have personal homes on the verge of collapse. So you could imagine saturation from the rainfall and saturation from leaking WASA means equal house gone Monday morning. And when you call a government minister, that equals insult, no answer, no response to letters, but they're giving out house for Christmas. I want to call out the housing minister. Murga Tableland have over 36 emergency cases, and I want a house for Christmas. So I am telling you, when you hear that walk start on the 10th, Murga Tableland constituents will be present because we feeling it. We losing homes that was built by our grandparents. They don't know the price of building a house, you know. How much susu you have to throw, how much rice and peas you eat, how much roti and bhaji you eat. We don't eat steak and we don't eat macaroni pie like Epi Gonzalez state. We know about cut belly, and that is how we reach here today. So when they tell us about coal pot and sacrifice, when you're talking to somebody after the lighthouse, we were built on sacrifice. We helped build this nation, and this government is not working for us. So I am here to endorse my partner in this struggle to remove this PNM government, and I call him a partner because I admire his fight. He stands up no matter what social media would say. Mr. Victor Roberts, he stands up for you and I. He would walk, he would talk. Every time you put on your phone and you get an alert, is Mr. Roberts fighting. So we have to join him. When you go in that grocery, and you're going there, and I show you, right now you can make a whole grocery. Eh? So I know you're going in the grocery at least 3 times for the week, because you cannot afford to buy a whole grocery at the same time. We're buying meals. So when you go tomorrow and you watch the price change, you know what you tell yourself? That's your ticket to join that walk on the 10th. When you hear that walk start, Mr. Roberts, what is the number we're looking at? I was told 30,000. We have to make that number. We have to show them it's time to call a general election. Imagine, as you can hear my voice is going, because I stood a day ago in rain and I heard a businessman. Me and you don't have this this ability to call direct to the prime ministers yet. A businessman pulled out his phone because he was stuck in a pothole. But lo and behold, this is a PNM businessman. And he could call direct to the prime minister. And you know what was his terminology? Chief, I'm in a pothole here in Naprimamia Road. That landslip would have started 7 months ago. Every afternoon, there is traffic, gridlock traffic for an hour and a half. And we had to endure. But yesterday, do you know that the 2-lane traffic was reestablished? So are we not to believe it's because he called Chief? So on the 10th, we making a call to Chief. We telling Chief we want election now. And that is what we are going to do. We have to stand up and we have to fight. The richest place in Trinidad and Tobago right now is the graveyard. And you know why I say that? Because it holds our loved ones that would have died by the hands of illegal guns. And we have to stand up for them. Everybody seated here, I don't know, a friend, a brother, a sister, somebody that was affected by crime. And if we don't make a stance, that is going to increase. This government have to go. And this political victimization that they want to give us, we're going to give it back to them because we have the power. You have the power. You put me there, and that is why I serve with my passion and I defend you. So you have to show them that you have the power. Don't let them victimize you. We're going to victimize them. We're going to flip the script, as the young people will say, on them. And we could do it. Don't say that we are small in multitude or we coming from south and it's because they up in town that they won't pay us no mind. I am telling you, we can do it. And we are being led by a strong woman, Miss Kamala Prasad Bisesa. And I will tell anyone I see her on a daily basis, no matter what is said, she stands tall in that parliament.
We have to deal with a woman seated on a chair. Before you say, I want to use that term, before you say good morning, stand in order. Stand in order. But no matter how much stand in order they call, we were elected to represent you. And we show up. No matter what they say, we show up. And we are asking you to show up for yourself. On the 10th, join this walk. On the 10th, let's show them that we mean business. This is not an next talk shop. It's only a talk shop if you attend this meeting and you don't show up on the 10th. Then you betray yourself. And I tell people right now, don't argue politics with Michelle Benjamin. If you fail to fight now, we are denying our future generations, our children. We have children leaving school, 4,000. I was so happy when I saw all those different PTS from university. And you see them children on TikTok, because now TikTok is the go. But to go where? Nice canister. But what institution you going in? We have doctors on the breadline, young doctors, parents. When you're studying, I could tell you the sacrifice my parents made. They did without to pay for my degree. And I know you're doing the same for your children, but it have no jobs. And that is because we have an incompetent government that is not creating opportunities. They blame it on COVID and everything underneath the sun. But it's because they cannot do the job. And it's time for them to office and murder table, and will continue to tell them that. And I need you to tell them that. So I stand with you, Mr. Roberts, and I pledge my support, and I will join you on the 10th, and we're going straight to Port of Spain, and we will remove this government. Thank you.
I tell you, she's quiet, but she's deadly. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard how bad this country is. We have heard how bad this country is. It's bad. We hear about flooding. We hear about lack of water. We hear about crime. We hear about the government being the biggest crime. We hear about this one and that one is a liar. We have heard how bad this country is. You know it and I know it. But as long as we sit down here and all we do is talk, as long as we sit down here and only talk amongst ourselves, as long as we sit down and we talk in the WhatsApp group of how bad things are, it ain't gonna get better, you know? It will get worse. First, they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I was not trade unionist. Then they came for the police. This is Trinidad, eh? This is not just what you would have read in the institute outside. Then they came for the police. If you remember how this government behaved, then they came for the police and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a policeman. Then they came for the fire officers who fight in the fire in the UB right now. But I didn't speak up because I wasn't a fireman. Then they came for the counselors, but I didn't speak up because I wasn't a counselor. And then you remember when a man sit down in a chair, laugh, gip, 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 and say they ain't riot yet while he bust price in your tail? You remember how our next one go in America and sit down and tell our next, tell you world, Trinidad and Tobago, they going good. We doing well. We living good. You remember when our prime minister sit down on the same TV and tell everybody else that he see nothing wrong with helping the rich so they can give the poor somewhere down in the end? This government's priorities are completely screwed up. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to remember something. In 2010 to 2015, Kamala Prasad-Bisesa showed you what a caring government could do. The PNM wants you to forget that. But she showed you what a PNM government could do and what a UNC government has done. And you have the opportunity. You've seen the two. You have the opportunity to make a choice. If you're happy with where you are, then kudos to you. You must be benefiting from the PNM because the vast majority of this 1.37 million people living in this country catching their nenen and they know it. Catching their nenen and they know it. I want you to remember something. Until you stand up and fight, they will keep doing things worse, 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 worseris, and worserisses until we stand up and fight. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that is what this gentleman has been doing. His name symbolizes winning. He's a man who don't know what losing means. He's a man who don't know what hush him out and stand down means. He's a man who for the last umpteen years have taken bullet, ball up, I don't know what else to say. For one purpose, to serve Trinidad and Tobago. He is, ladies and gentlemen, the real member of Parliament for Labrie. He is walking from south to north for you and for me. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the legend, the fighter, the rebel with the cause, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Victor Roberts.
Pleasant good night to all. I want to thank the Honorable MP, Dave Tanku, for allowing facts and fiction to be in his constituency. I also want to thank all the speakers who have spoken before. And I want to thank you, most of all, the honored guests, for being here in your numbers here this afternoon. So give yourself a round of applause. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start by saying to you that this march on the 10th of December, it is not about Victor Roberts. It have absolutely nothing to do with Victor Roberts in the sense of looking or taking any fame. This march, ladies and gentlemen, in somewhat, it's also about you. But the real essence of this march is for your children, your grandchildren, and the unborn babies in this country. We have sit down for too long as a nation, and we have allowed this PNM government to do as they please and as they want in this country. We in the UNC, we have sit down for too long and demonstrate a type of coward behavior that we believe that when Rowley speak, the UNC must remain quiet. But I have said to Rowley long time ago that the PNM would not be able to silence the voice of the UNC. The PNM will not be able to silence those who we have elected to represent us in the parliament. We have heard Michelle spoke of a speaker that before she could say good morning, stand in order, behave, shut up, quiet, that not important, this not important, the other not important. Well, today I want to tell Keith Christopher Rowley and the PNM that no longer we will look to them in this country having any form of authority to speak on any given situation. We have seen a prime minister who have allowed the breaches of the constitution by his doing and by his associates, meaning his members of parliament. We have allowed this prime minister to breach and to contaminate every independent institution in this country. We have allowed this prime minister to protect his friends and his financiers. Even in this constituency, they have closed down Petrotrin because of the prime minister friend, because of the prime minister partner, and because of one who boasts that he financed the PNM. Today, as a result of that, Petrotrin exists no more. And what we do in this part of the country, we have accepted that. We sit down and accepted that. We have seen the prime minister of this country utilize his political influence and contaminate the highest office of this land, the presidency. We have seen the Prime Minister reverse a list after the Constitution tell us what must happen when that list reached to the President. And I want to call MP Dinesh Rambali. I want to call MP, come up here MP. I want you MP to tell this country tonight the intricacies of what the Prime Minister have done when he thought that merit list and collapsed the whole police service. MP, we have less time. Come up here fast and let me get this thing going here tonight. You see, I want the people in the country to understand. I want you, the people in this country, to understand the danger about the behavior of our Prime Minister when coming to withdrawing of that merit list. Tell us the law, MP.
Good night, good night. You know, I was having a good time listening to Victor Roberts, you know, and I wanted to hear Victor Roberts take on what happened there. But what Victor is pointing to is a very serious breach of our democracy. We have something in this country we call rule of law. But the rule of law don't belong to the lawyers alone, you know. You see, when there's a breach of your constitutional rights, that is a breach of the rule of the law. When you have governance issues which involves you and me and Victor Roberts, and you see crime out of control, that is breach of rule of law. You have a Prime Minister, time after time, and if you want to find the classical examples, just as Dave Tanku said, MP, he indicated that you would have seen the classical examples of how good governance occurred under Kamla Prasad Bisesa. How they appointed a commissioner of police and a deputy commissioner of police. And what you have here now, Keith Rowley went and hand-selected a man called Gary Griffith because he thought Gary Griffith would have come and do his bidding. And lock up the whole UNC as Councillor Mary reminded us here. And that is what he thought. Bypass about 8 or 9. Kyle Taklal Singh wrote a letter for one of those officers, you know. David Dulalchan. And bypass the man who was the top of the merit list. Come and pick number 8 or number 9, whatever it is. Thinking that this man now will be beholden to the PNM. And that is what happened. When he realized that this commissioner of police, now former commissioner of police, was not going after, or maybe he thought he was not going after political opponents in the UNC fast enough. That is when he decided now he going to intercept a merit list. So you have an independent institution, Victor Roberts. You have an independent institution called the Police Service Commission, and they will produce a list using certain criteria. You know, if you go for a job, they're going to say, look, these are the job specs, and they will start to tick off yes, 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 and therefore you are the ideal candidate, and they'll say, okay, you move on to round 2. Police Service Commission went through that procedure, and they selected certain persons, and they put them in an order of merit on a list, and they have to carry it down to the President's house. The President of the country have to send it to the Parliament, and we, on behalf of the people, on behalf of you, we will get a chance to debate those names on that list to say who we want to be the Commissioner of Police. But Keith Rowley didn't want that. He don't want to obey the law. He doesn't want to obey democratic principles. Imagine this man as a Prime Minister have no damn shame going down in President's house and take that list. And you have a President who still sit down in office there and still not saying anything. So this is what we are dealing with. Imagine they could do that for a sitting Commissioner of Police. Imagine they could do that for people who they believe to be political opponents of theirs, or who out of favor with them, or who stopping friends, family and financiers from their jobs. What do you think they are going to do to you and me? So ladies and gentlemen, this is what Victor Roberts is talking about. And when we talk about defenders of democracy, you are a defender of democracy. All of us here are defenders of democracy. So if you want to get a properly appointed Commissioner of Police to get into office so that we can start tackling crime in Trinidad and Tobago, come out and march with Victor Roberts.
So you understand, ladies and gentlemen, the intricacies as to what is happening in this country. I want to tell you tonight, Don't blame the criminals for their action, because the criminals, they have learnt from the biggest criminal in our democracy who sits on that chair in government tonight. The criminals, ladies and gentlemen, they are following the pattern that is set out by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The criminals, ladies and gentlemen, they have seen, they have saw without a shadow of a doubt that this government is lawless, and therefore they have said to themselves, if the government who ought to uphold law and order is lawless, then we as the criminals, we must continue to do just as the government doing. That is the reality in this country. We have an attorney general. An attorney general, the second highest position in the cabinet. A matter of fact, the Prime Minister and the Attorney General, they are really the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago. And we have seen from Faris Alwari, the former Attorney General, we have seen, ladies and gentlemen, where a soldier brought to the forefront, where children who is alleged to be the children of Faris Alwari with sophisticated weapons. And you know what happened? That soldier was found dead with a shot to the back of his head. And let me tell you how clever this criminal government really is. They have taken one of their partner, some big boy in the defense force, to conduct an investigation. And coming out of that investigation, they concluded that it was suicide. But the second autopsy, ladies and gentlemen, proved where the soldier had several broken ribs and a gunshot to his back of his head. And therefore, we now understand the level where the government will go in order to protect their corrupt, their misbehavior, and their corrupt financiers in this country. We have seen a state witness who was in police protection. Police protection. And that state witness, ladies and gentlemen, when he died and the autopsy was done, death was due to poisoning. And that state witness made several reports and were protected because he said an attorney general had asked him to plant a bug in a UNC senator office. And when he brought that revelation, you see what happened? He was poisoned. By who? Not by you, not by me, not by Dave Tanku, but you know by who? The Cosa Nostra in the PNM. That is where the problem lies. And this government have appointed every individual that will do their bidding into positions that Tanku could call for 1 million investigation, and Rambali could call for 1 million investigation. You know what happened? Because of the spreading of the Cosa Nostra, there would not be any PNM individuals giving account for their misbehavior in public office, because the commissioner of police acting appointed by the PNM, and it appears as though that he has now becomes a PNM supporter, and it appears that the executive of the police service is a PNM party group. The head of the judiciary There's a man by the name of Dillian Johnson hiding somewhere in the UK. Somewhere in the UK. And Dillian Johnson is the man, not Victor Roberts, who said that he had spent time in a hotel in Guyana with a Chief Justice. It was Dillian Johnson who said that as a result of his revelation, he was shot and an attempt on his life was made. So he ran to the UK and seek asylum. It was two little boys who confessed that a big, strong, ugly, short-hair Rastaman had sexually abused them. And in a matter of days, those two young boys were murdered. It was the Prime Minister. And I want to call Kyle Taklal Singh, don't run. Come and tell us today why you had to stand up. Why you had to stand up against the Attorney General in this country. Tell us why you has lobbied within the Law Association, who I consider as another PNM party group. But tell us why you had taken a decision to go and gather support to get a vote about the Attorney General after he had lied internationally. Tell us.
Thank you very much, Victor. Well, first of all, let me say that I support you, I stand with you, and I will be there right next to you when you take this march to Port of Spain. It is about time that people from this side of the river go down in Port of Spain and show them why democracy is important, because they forget up on that side. They forget, right? And I want to say that as a young lawyer, people have lost faith in the legal profession, but let me tell you, we have some very strong and vibrant lawyers in this country, and plenty of them in the United National Congress. Plenty of them in the United National Congress. We have colleagues like Mr. Rambali, Mr. Hussain, Ms. Lakshmi Dayal, many strong attorneys in the United National Congress that will be standing and fighting for your rights. And when that Attorney General decided to embarrass this country, embarrass the legal profession, embarrass the rule of law in this country, I decided, and many of my colleagues decided, to take the fight to him. We were not successful then, but I am sure that come Black Friday, we will be successful in bringing down not only the Attorney General, but the government of this country. Thank you very much, Victor.
And that is reality. That is reality. Our democracy. They kicked it. A matter of fact, the Prime Minister walk, trample, urinate, defecate on that document that we ought to be holding sacred. The document that the President of this country, who lecture upon the document where we expect the judiciary to lobby and to give us a better understanding and to make decisions on constitutional matters in this country. They have kicked our constitution out the window, and when there is no constitution, it makes room for anarchy, and that is what we must avoid. So we must stand as right-thinking, law-abiding citizens, and we must come together in our numbers. And this coming together, ladies and gentlemen, it is not because we have a vendetta against anybody, but it's because we understand what is the rule of law. And if your government is acting, behaving in an unlawful manner and controls all the independent arms that ought to be the checks and balance, then what would you do in this country? Would you just sit down? Would you just lie down? Would you just peep through your glass because you cannot put up enough burglar proof? They're now coming through the walls. Would you sit down and allow this country, the future of your children, who you have sacrificed for so many years, to ensure that they have a future in this country? Would you sit idly by people and allow a handful of corrupt politicians to determine the destiny for your children and grandchildren? Would you sit down and just say that Dave Tanku, Rambali, Saddam Hussein, and all the members of parliament, they must do the job? Or would you get up as right-thinking citizens in this country and say that we will stand up behind our MPs, we will stand up behind our senators, and I want to say I first, will stand up behind Kamla Prasad Bisasa. Not because, as some may say, my eyes blue, because you could see it here tonight. So if you feel it's because my eye blue, then that's a matter for you. But I will stand and defend Kamla any day, every time, all the time. You know why? I will tell you why. I will do so because of the policies that Kamla brought to the table, where you sitting here, where your children who in university, your grandchildren who climbing the ladder in the educational sector, it was all because of Kamla Prasad Bisasa. This government have removed every form of support to educate your children. You know why? Because the more they could keep you dotish and docile, is the more they could see as they could stay in power. The more they could have you sit down and afraid to come out and stand up, because somebody go tell you, boy, the police are tear gas. Let me tell you something. Anytime a man tell you the police are tear gas, you rhyme and tell him hold. You rhyme. Because let me tell you something, Trinidad and Tobago. The future of your children is more important. Let me tell you, I don't know about you, but I, Victor Roberts, will die for any one of my children. Any one of my children, I am prepared to die to defend them. If you believe that you could just allow what is passing for governance to continue while you sit down and do nothing, then that's a matter for you. You know what I tell my children? I say, we will walk against this government if it means we will walk by ourselves. My two daughters just behind the second row. And let me tell you something. I expect them at some time to say, Daddy, like I eat plenty, my belly growing. But I also expect that when that time reach, that there is a place in society for my grandchildren. I will expect, ladies and gentlemen, that it have a place in society for my great-grandchildren too. The resources of this country, people, belongs to you. It is not the PNM own. The resources of this country, it is meant to be distributed in an equitable manner, not by geographical discrimination. And let me deal with the UNC supporters one time. All you sit down for too long in this country. All you sit down for too long. And when Rowley started to give all your pressure, it seems like some people get docile. Get up and put fire in your belly. Put fire in your belly, UNC supporters. Put the fire in your belly, because this is about country. Joe just come to a meeting to say I was there. Come to this meeting, and when you go home, tell your husband, tell your wife, wake up your children. Say, hey, hope is on the doorstep. Hope is coming for Trinidad and Tobago. We will stand together as a unit. And when we stand as a unit, let me give you a story as I wrap up. There's a passage of scripture which deals with the behavior of a king in Jericho. And that Jericho king was a little better than Rowley. But he was the most brutal thing back in ancient time. But still better than Rowley. And when the children cry, the scripture said that God listened. But while some of our church members telling us to pray, go get better, don't let them fool you. Nowhere in the scriptures show you it work like that. Well, look, she take it out my mouth. They had to do something. The scripture said that the Creator tell them, walk round the walls of Jericho 7 times. If they did walk 5 times, what would happen? No walling falling. If they did walk 3 times, no walling falling. But guess what? I tonight asking you to walk once to throw down the Rowley Jericho wall. Once. I ain't asking them 7 times. But when they obeyed, the walls fell. And then victory came. Let me tell you something. Victory in any democracy come in some case with blood, with sweat, with tears on your feet. That is how it come. And our forefathers, whether under slave or indentures, came and work and create an opportunity where this democracy prevail. You would sit down and let one madman who honey goat weed and helping no more to mash up the whole future for your children, and you will sit down. People, wake up. Let us get up on the tent. Wake up early in the morning. Come whether your teeth brush or it ain't brush, because some people can't buy Colgate. Just come and let us assemble in Palo Seco Junction. Walk with that love and that joy of unity. Let us make 1970, which is a historical record. Let us repeat the crowd, the numbers, while we demonstrate a disciplined behavior. Let Rowley, Faris, Sinanan, Millionaire Stuart Young and his family, Camille $143,800, Foster 4.4 million Cummins, Armor lying, going, sitting, standing, and the whole team understand that the people of Trinidad and Tobago would not be fooled anymore and we demand good governance. I urge you, good people. I urge you, good people. Do not allow that opportunity to help this country to be a better place to fall on the ground. Do not allow your children to be disappointed by your weakness. Let us show our children that we care, that we have a strength within, that we will go throughout the length and breadth of this country to ensure that their future is secure. We are not asking you to take up guns and knives. We just asking you to do what is important to ensure that Monday morning when your children go to school, you will be confident to see them Monday evening. Today we have no confidence. You could leave here tonight, and Meru said it earlier on, he could leave here tonight and he can be a casualty tomorrow, praise God. Let us stand up, people, for once in our miserable life under PNM. Just once. Let us stand up and come out in our numbers. Let us bring 30,000 plus on the streets. Bring your children anywhere I go. I have a son 10 years, Omar. And mind you, I don't drink honey goat either, but he's 10 years. But you know what? Anywhere I go, you could go back and check all the videos. Omar there. You know why? I want Omar to know from small that he must be a defender of this country. That's why I take him there. I carry Omar. Protest march, Omar goes. Because I want him to understand, do not allow yourself to be brainwashed by a government who resemble you but doesn't take care of you. And we are strong. We are strong. And you know what makes us strong? We are strong in our minds because we understand that humanity ought to be a love. You ought to be my keeper and I have to be your keeper. And if we live as we used to before, I am telling you, Trinidad and Tobago will come back to that place of love. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have said enough. And I just hope that what was said here by everybody tonight will touch your heart in a special way, and it will motivate you and give you that inner strength that you would come out and stand up and demand that any government, listen my God, you know, any and every government performs according to our constitution. So I want to bless your hearts tonight, and I do trust and hope that you will take the message that everybody, all of us, speak here tonight, and it will motivate you and give you that courage. So on the 10th of December, you will come out in your numbers, and we together will send that message and bring back this country to what it ought to be. I thank you. God bless you.